Bismillah.
The need for greed.
The innocence of Muhammad, peace be upon him, explaining his marriage to Aisha. May Allah be pleased with her. The blasphemous libel law was last used in the UK in 1977 against a poem in the Gay Times about Jesus being gay. The slander also outraged Muslims who expect Jesus to get married when he returns again before the last day. From the offset, Muslims cannot abide innocent people being falsely accused and hate injustice, slander, and lies. So when a messenger of God is ridiculed and character assassinated, it's a duty to defend him without compromise. God's prophets are like brothers from different mothers, sent from the same God with the same monotheistic call. So rejecting Muhammad, peace be upon him, as a true messenger of God, just like Moses or Jesus, peace be upon them both, really means rejecting them all. Muslims love all of God's prophets, including Muhammad, peace be upon him, and defend their honors from lying, slanderous attack. With vehement hatred, Islamophobes have labeled him as a pedophile, but such accusations need to be slapped back. Along with the Quran, which Allah is preserving, Muslims also have the Sunnah, whose authentic hadith we don't deny. The hadith contain a complete record of the Prophet's life in minute detail, which Muslims try to emulate, not belie. Christians and Jews cannot defend the prophets justly, for the Bible contains explicit corruptions that have misled, like Lot accused of incest with his daughters, and near death David is given a young virgin to keep him warm in bed. It's no secret that certain zealot Christians spreading this filth are themselves guilty of pedophilia and child abuse, but the only ones who will defend Aisha's honor are the Sunnis, for the Shia curse her, so relying on them is no use. Aisha's esteemed epithet, like the other wives of the Prophet, peace be upon him, is Mother of the Believers, or Ummahatul Mu'mineen. So defending her honor is as dignified as defending one's own mother. We are not ashamed of our religion or deen. The ones crying foul are not consistent in their outrage, with frothing mouths, stereotypically racist views they hurl, applying modern standards outside of the historical context, comparing Aisha to a 9-year-old naive Western girl. Firstly, Prophet Mohammed, peace be upon him, is the best amongst mankind, so to compare him to vile pedophiles is way out of line. These scummy men bugger prepubescent boys and girls, for example in Thailand, and secretly carry out their sordid crime. Secondly, the damage inflicted to a pedophile's victim leaves them physically hurt, vengeful and emotionally scarred. No sane society would approve of such depravity, and such accusations against Aisha's marriage should be barred. Aged 25, the Prophet, peace be upon him, married his first wife, Khadija, aged 40. Their monogamous union lasted 24 years until she died. He grieved her death, and his friends pitied his state, so a woman called Khawla bint Hakim suggested a new bride. She recommended either Sauda, a matronly widow, or Aisha, a virgin girl, so he sent her to make mention of his name. But Aisha's father, Abu Bakr, had already promised her engagement to Jubair ibn Mut'im and didn't want any blame. Abu Bakr asked the Prophet, peace be upon him, whether the union was permissible or not, as he considered him as his brother in Islam. The Prophet, peace be upon him, replied affirmatively, so Abu Bakr went to Jubair's parents to discuss developments and avoid harm. Jubair's pagan mother, al-Sabi, objected to her son converting to Islam. Thus, Allah freed Abu Bakr from his word. He then asked Khawla to confirm the engagement to Aisha, then aged 6, and until puberty, her marriage was deferred. In historical context, it was a common custom to betroth child brides and marry them when they reached maturity. For example, Emperor Constantine engaged Anna Komnena before she was 8, and his mother raised her to protect her purity. Seething dissenters may cry, how can you justify marriage at such a young age? But this argument is only recent. For example, the age of consent in California up until 1889 was 7, and even in 2010, Spain and Japan consider 13 as decent. The Prophet, peace be upon him, was sent revelation in dreams, and Angel Gabriel showed him his new wife to be thrice in his visions. It was Aisha, wrapped in silk, and he said, "This is your wife in this world and the next," so it was really God's decision. After Khawla's visit, Sauda, aged 55, agreed to marriage with the Prophet peace be upon him, and she remained his wife until he died. Meanwhile, he would visit Abu Bakr and give salutations to Aisha. All who accuse him of sexual impropriety have lied. The reality is far removed from the sick minds of those who fantasize and hold such perverse views without proof. Once the actual circumstances of the Prophet's marriage to Aisha are revealed, like Satan, they run away aloof. The Prophet, peace be upon him, remained married with Sauda in Mecca for 2 years before moving to Medina for hijrah or migration. There, Abu Bakr urged him to consummate marriage to his daughter, for Aisha had reached menstrual maturation. Aisha herself reported she considered herself as a responsible grown-up after her menses. At that time she was 9. She was freshened by her own mother and brought into the house where Ansari people were gathered at that time. The women cheered her, saying, Allah's blessings, good health and happy news, and her appearance they beautified. It was made clear to her that she was to be married to the Prophet, peace be upon him, and she consented happily to be his bride. That God's messenger was contracted to marry their daughter, Aisha's parents Abu Bakr and Ruman were ecstatic, and to Muslim parents the thought that when Jesus returns, to have their daughter as his bride would be fantastic. The key finding is that nobody complained, not Aisha, her parents, nor her friends, not even the enemies of Islam. So either they all colluded in pedophilia, or marriage at puberty was the norm, yet Islamophobes don't give a darn. Those who slander the Prophet, peace be upon him, do so out of hatred for Islam, but should take stock before blame their portion, as their civilization is damned by gay marriage, brothels, porn, premarital sex, adultery, drunken rape and abortion. Many scoff at the fact that the Prophet, peace be upon him, was 53 when he married Aisha, aged 9, yet Allah's wisdom they ignore. She was the only virgin he married, and for the majority of Muslims, their intimacy set a precedent for marital law. Such hypocrites are silent about the biblical account of Abraham siring a child with young Hagar at the age of 86, or 12-year-old Mary's marriage to Joseph aged 90, a fictitious addition to stop Jews accusing Mary of pulling tricks. The minimum age of consensual marriage in Islam is set at puberty, but various factors can influence when it starts. For example, 40% more African American girls develop the onset of puberty at 7 compared to their Caucasian counterparts. Unmentioned in the Bible, Islam stipulates that a girl's age of responsibility is linked to maturity of body and mind. Even if she was engaged by contract as a child, it's her choice to cancel at puberty. It's forbidden to coerce, to bind. Likewise, it is a reality to this day in places like India and Mali that girls cook, clean and look after siblings from 6, yet Western girls do not have such responsibility. Some even graduate from university with 0 home economics. Aisha would place her lips on the same side of the cup as the Prophet, peace be upon him. She shared her bathwater and saw him pray. They used to race each other for fun, and she left a definitive legacy of marital etiquettes as guidance to this day. Aisha loved her husband jealously and compared his radiant face to a shining moon and never complained or faced harm. If she was a victim of child abuse, she would never have become the most prolific female scholar of hadith in Islam. Aisha was intelligent and wise, and besides her wifely duties, she narrated over 2,200 eyewitness Islamic reports. Senior male companions referred to her to clarify Quranic commentary, history and law, and even Arabic poetry retorts. The Prophet, peace be upon him, died in Aisha's apartment, with his head resting on the lap of his beloved, after 9 years of marital bliss. Although 18, she never remarried, but lived to 63 in awe of her husband, and with deep fondness she would reminisce. Gratuitous attacks on Islam have recently become alarmingly hateful, with facts and objectivity ignored maliciously. But once fear, xenophobia, and ignorance are removed, truth in historical context can be accepted more judiciously. Ultimately, the Quran abrogates God's previous books, and its laws apply till the last day, with solutions to our woes. So to cast aspersions on the messenger who delivered it is tantamount to blasphemy, and you will reap what you sow.